Hey, would you like an actual blood mage to be viable? Well, you're in the right place. Hi everyone, I know why you guys are all here, so I'm going to keep the intro short, but before I do start, I just want to say that YouTube recently gave me this feature where you guys can actually thank me for the things I do. So, for the rich people out there who want to help support me, this is the best way to do that. I appreciate it a lot. So to cut as much intro time, because I know you guys came to see this, this is the current blood mage that I'm running. So to give out some pointers, I am split in Faith and Arcane. The Arcane will be helping our bleed proc happen a lot quicker because that's what we're looking for in the Bloodthorn sorcery. What that means is that we need to be cautious about where we put the rest of our stats if we're trying to make a meta level build. So I raised my mind to 18 so we could cast a decent amount. I raised my endurance so I could wear a little bit heavier armor, and I put the rest of my points into health so that I can have a decent health pool. The main problem with split stat hybrids is that we're going to have issues with our vigor, endurance, and mind if we're trying to balance all of those out, so this is the final stat spread I came up with. My main starting class was the Prisoner, so it wasn't the most optimal for this build specifically. If you chose the Prophet, you would be able to get more mileage out of this, but you can respec your character and get similar results even if you don't choose the Prophet. For the main armor set, I'm using the Albert hat and gauntlets, the Crucible Knight chest piece, and the Knight Cavalry boots. Me personally, I just like how this set looks, but you can always choose other armors to fit your build. The hat and the gauntlets will also be raising our Bloodthorn sorcery power damage. You could wear the Albert's robes to get the extra 5%, but I value the damage absorption that we get more than the damage. For the Talismans, I'm running the Crimson Amber Medallion +2, Radagon Icon, Lord of Blood Exaltation, and the Erdtree Favorite +2. For the weapons, I have a +25 Blood Scavenger Sword. I believe this sword has one of the highest bleed proc rates in the game due to it already having innate bleed, so it's a pretty good weapon for us. So I decided to use the Staff of the Guilty because it's going to be boosting our Thorn sorceries, and it already gives us slight blood loss buildup. You could also use the Albinaric Staff as an alternative because it will scale with Arcane, so your blood magic will be doing a little less damage, but the blood proc rate I believe will be higher. To break down how you actually want to play this build, so me personally, I believe that there are two ways you can play this build. It can be very explosive or it can be very passive. You can decide how you want to play and what fits your playstyle, which I find very cool about this. The first playstyle is going to be leaning more into the actual staff gameplay, which is going to be your Briars of Sin, Briars of Punishment, and Carrion Slicer. Now, Carrion Slicer, this is going to be very needed for this build. I feel like it helps to make the build really shine in terms of its chain casting. If you would like to hear more about chain casting, you can check out the previous video I made on Blood Mage so you can get a basic idea of what I'm talking about here. But essentially, Carrion Slicer will help to make our spells much more explosive and come out much quicker. So the whole game plan with this build is you want to be aggressive and rush down your opponent. Now, a lot of people are not going to expect you to go into Briars of Sin after you do Carrion Slicer, so if you pretend like you whiffed and missed your move, you can go into Briars of Sin and you can start the chain cast from there. Because from there you can switch into either Briars of Punishment to set up your long range setup, or you can go back into Carrion Slicer and then back into Briars of Sin and just chunk them down until they die. Now, what I absolutely love about this build is because it's so niche, no one knows what you're doing. Like, I feel like half the people don't even know the tech that I'm doing, and the other half just can't even expect what it is I'm about to throw out. Because Briars of Sin and Briars of Punishment have the same casting animation, they'll never know what you're about to do. And then you could just pull out the Carrion Slicer when they least expect it, and then you can just start the cast from there and just do mad damage. Some notes about the build is that you will be losing a lot of health rapidly depending on how frequently you use your casts, so try and use them sparingly, because while you only lose 100 damage per cast of Briars, that will add up if you start to spam it. So this does have a skill ceiling for that, in that you can't really spam these spells. The other very important one, now this one is kind of specific, so for the people who don't really PvP like that, you may not care, but this is for PvP specifically in when you're fighting opponents. So after you get them in that Briars of Sin kind of loop, it is very important what you do after that. When you saw that clip of me earlier chunking that guy before, that was heavily reliant on me breaking his poise. Briars of Punishment does more poise damage to people, so it will break people's poise more often. However, it does take longer to cast compared to Carrion Slicer. So you'll need to assess your enemy's armor and do the combo accordingly. If he has a lot of poise, you might want to do Briars of Punishment after you do Briars of Sin to break it. If he doesn't have a lot of poise, then you can use Carrion Slicer and do the combo that way. And when you see their poise breaks and you feel like they're going to roll away, you can do Briars of Sin again and get the third phase hit and that will almost always roll catch people. That has a very deceptively long range, and it will probably hit them if they roll straight away. So we can take this clip for example. Because I hit him with Briars of Sin, I should have used Briars of Sin again, because that would have been the highest likelihood for me to win. If he decided to roll out, which he did, it would have roll caught him and he would have died. If he tried to trade me, he would have lost the trade and he would have died anyway. But me going into Briars of Punishment, because the hitbox isn't the best, I actually whiffed and I wasn't able to kill him in this interaction. So that's just an example of when you should and shouldn't use Briars of Punishment, and how you should kind of go about it when you get the combo started. So overall, I would say that this build is highly recommended for those who want to be more aggressive with their playstyle and really want to rush down people and just make them bleed out and surprise them with the tech that they probably didn't even know about. Now on to the second and arguably more fun way to play this build for me is the pure Blood Mage. This version of the build heavily focuses on the actual Blood Mage aspect, so you're going to be using a lot of your incantations as well to support your sorcery, and I'd say this version is probably some of the most fun I had in dueling, like, period. This version of the Blood Mage is a lot more versatile than the last one in that you don't need to be aggressive 100% of the time to get the build to be effective. The main point of the build is to proc blood loss. This is a lot more prominent on this version compared to the last one because we actually have the tools to make it proc consistently. The 3 incantations I added on the build to help with that is Blood Boon, Swarm of Flies, and Raptor Talons. Blood Boon is going to be your neutral tool. You can throw it out when you guys aren't fighting, so you can try and make an opener, but you will need to free aim this to get the full effects of it. And quick tip, when you throw out the blood, it always arcs to the left, so you can use that as a reminder for when you need to aim your free throws. Blood Flame Talons is going to be used as your retreating option or your close range melee option if you see a person trying to rush you down. What's nice about this too is it actually causes passive bleed buildup as well, so you can see in that clip he died even though I wasn't touching him, so that's a pretty nice feature as well to build up bleed procs. Side note though, the hitbox comes out at the explosion, not the actual claw attack, so keep that in mind when using this incantation to either be defensive or offensive. Swarm of Flies usage is similar in Blood Boons in that you're using it when you're far away to create pressure and making the opponent want to push you. When playing this more bleed-oriented Blood Mage, it is very important to know your spacing and know how far away you are from your enemy, because one bad cast of Blood Boon can mean that you will die because they can just push you and you'll just take a lot of damage. So, you want to be using Blood Boon sparingly, but enough so where your enemy will get annoyed, try to push you, and then that's when you can close out the game with either the Briars of Punishment and Sin Tech, which by the way you can fit on this build as well, or the Blood Flame Talons to chunk them for massive damage. And if you want to as well, you can fit that same curved sword on, so when you get them with enough bleed procs and you feel like they're about to bleed out, you can push them with the curved sword, use Sword Dance, which is my personal favorite for this build because of the rushdown style, and you can get the bleed procs as well. The Lord of Blood Exaltation will be helping a lot with this because it will be giving us more attack when bleed proc arises, and we all know that the white mask users are maidenless, so we're not going to use that, but this talisman will still be helping us with our damage output when we do get the bleed procs. One last thing to note, these types of players I'm about to show on screen are probably the hardest matchup for the Blood Mage. If you don't know how to play around it, most of you guys will have a hard time to fight it, so I'm here to help you. When you see people who get in your face a lot, you're going to want to use Blood Flame Talons because they're not going to respect it most of the times. For example, you can tell this player is very aggressive and he doesn't want me to get my spells off, so I'll be using Blood Flame Talons defensively, and even though he gets this jumping L1 on me, I'm still able to bring this match back due to my Blood Flame Talon spacing and him not respecting it, which causes him to die and bleed out. That will be it from me, guys. I truly hope that you appreciated this unique build that I came up with, the Blood Mage build. Tell your friends and let them know that blood magic is finally back and it is actually useful and viable this time. I really hope to see more variety in PvP and just duels in general, so I hope this inspires some of you guys to make builds of your own. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Peace. Be good. Love and light.